pretty good. Ready to get this over with, get back to the oil field.
Well, let's get you set up. You know the drill, right?
Yes, ma'am. 8 times a charm.
So do you have any questions before we get started?
Yes, did you ever get the intercom and the monitor set up?
No, our tech guy still hasn't come yet. Go ahead and get the machine when you're ready.
There's something wrong with the machine.
Let's try that again. So do you have any questions before we get started?
Yes, did you ever get the intercom and the monitor set up?
Yeah, I got fixed last week. Go ahead and get the machine when you're ready. The unfortunate chain of events started here. If the monitor had been working, Mary Beth would have been able to see Ray in the machine. If the intercom had been working, Mary Beth and Ray would have been able to communicate with one another. Ray, can you hear me? I'm about to start.
Yes, ma'am.
The next error occurred when Mary Beth went to set the machine. Instead of hitting the E key to activate the electron beam mode, Mary Beth accidentally hit the X key, which activated the X-ray mode. Mary Beth quickly realized her mistake and corrected it. What she didn't realize was that this series of key combinations had never been tested at such a speed. This tripped up the computer. Instead of switching the Therac 25 all the way out of the X-ray mode, it only retracted the thick metal plate used for X-rays, but kept the power on at maximum, hitting Ray with a deadly blast of 25 million volts of radiation therapy. Meanwhile, Mary Beth only received error code 54 that she had not been trained to handle. If the display had been programmed to return a more descriptive error message, Mary Beth would have realized that there was a problem that needed to be dealt with immediately. Welcome back to this week's episode of Ergonomic Issues Step Research is Done. As you just saw, several years ago, Ray Cox died of an overdose in radiation therapy from the Therac 25. Between the years 1985 and 1987, 6 incidents were reported with the Therac 25, resulting in death and serious injuries. Fallon, what was the critical mistake in this scenario, and what would the machine could have been changed to save Ray Cox's life?
So even though Mary Beth made the mistake, she quickly corrected it, which should have solved the problem. The biggest mistake was the machine itself and its inability to change positions with fast keystrokes. This mistake could have happened to even the most qualified of nurses, which is why it's so important for companies to test to the extremes and not just the most probable events.
Additionally, there should have been some sort of error message inside the machine, which is a type of auditory display, so that Ray could have escaped before something bad happened.
And what do you think could have been changed ergonomically in this scenario?
So I think one of the key ergonomic issues was the display that Mary Beth was seeing. The error message she was receiving from the Therac 25, error code message 54, was not a universally known error message, so she should have had proper training or a reference to understand how to solve this problem.
Additionally, the Therac 25 and the nurse running it were too far away. In the future, this should be organized so that the nurse is in an adjoining room with a glass window in between so that she can see if anything goes wrong so that she can correct it.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your input. And thank you so much for joining us this week in this episode of Ergonomic Issues Step Research is Done. I'll see you next week.